The air crackled with Karen's shrill voice. A banshee wail that could curdle milk in a cow's udder. Check his ID. He's trespassing on my land. She screeched, her chins wobbling like a turkey's waddle as she jabbed a sausage-like finger toward me. I leaned against the cabin door, arms crossed, watching her performance with the kind of pity you reserve for a dog chasing its own tail. Karen, the self-appointed queen of this nowhere stretch of pine and dirt, had no idea she'd just stepped into a bear trap of her own making. This wasn't her land. It wasn't even a place she should have known about. The cabin, tucked deep in the Oregon wilderness, was a federal black site off the grid, off the books, and definitely off limits to nosy busybodies like Karen. I'd been stationed here for 6 months, running covert ops for an agency so classified it didn't even have a pronounceable acronym. My job was to stay invisible. But Karen, with her Walmart tracksuit and a grudge the size of a small planet, had other plans. It started 3 days ago when she rolled up in her rusted pickup, claiming the cabin was on her ancestral property. Ancestral. My Ash bought the adjacent lot last year and decided the whole forest was her personal fiefdom. She'd been harassing me ever since, banging on my door, demanding permits, and threatening to call the cops. I ignored her, figuring she'd tire herself out. But Karen wasn't the tiring type. She was the I'll speak to your manager type, dialed up to 11. Today, she'd made good on her threat. 2 local deputies stood between us, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else. Deputy Harris, a wiry guy with a mustache that screamed, "I peaked in high school," clutched his notepad, glancing nervously between Karen and me. His partner, Deputy Lopez, a no-nonsense woman with a buzz cut, kept her hand near her holster. Not because I was threatening, but because Karen's voice was a weapon of mass irritation. "Ma'am, we're just here to verify residency," Harris said, trying to placate her. "Sir, can you show us some ID?" Karen smirked, her beady eyes glinting with triumph. She thought she'd won, that she'd exposed me as some squatter. I sighed, reaching into my jacket for my wallet. Not because I had to, but because I was tired of her noise. The moment I handed over my ID, I knew this was about to get interesting. Harris squinted at the card, then froze. His mustache twitched like a startled caterpillar. Lopez, you might want to see this." Lopez stepped over, her boots crunching on the gravel. She took one look at the ID, and her jaw tightened. "Ma'am," she said, turning to Karen, "this property is federal jurisdiction. You need to leave. Now." Karen's face went from smug to volcanic in half a second. Federal jurisdiction. This is my land. I have a deed. I'll sue you all into next week. Her voice hit a pitch that made a nearby owl take flight and panic. I couldn't help it. I chuckled. Karen's head snapped toward me, her eyes narrowing to slits. "What's so funny? You nobody. You think you can just waltz in here and steal my property?" "Karen," I said, my voice low and deliberate, "you're not just wrong. You're dangerously wrong. This cabin, it's a black site. And I'm not a squatter. I'm the federal lead." Her mouth opened, then closed, like a fish gasping on a dock. For the first time, she was speechless. But not for long. "You're lying. You're some lowlife drifter. And I'm not leaving until I see proof." Lopez, who'd clearly had enough, stepped forward. "Ma'am, his ID checks out. This is a restricted area. You're trespassing on federal property. And if you don't leave, we'll have to arrest you." Karen's face turned a shade of red that suggested her blood pressure was staging a coup. Arrest me. I'm a taxpayer. I have rights. I'll have your badges for this. Harris, bless his heart, tried to de-escalate. Ma'am, please, just go home, and we'll sort this out later. But Karen wasn't having it. She stomped forward, shoving a finger in Harris's face. You're in on it, aren't you? This is a cover-up. I'm calling my lawyer, the mayor, and the governor. That's when it happened. Lopez, with the patience of a saint but the reflexes of a panther, grabbed Karen's wrist and twisted it behind her back. Ma'am, you're under arrest for trespassing and interfering with a federal operation. The cuffs clicked, and Karen's scream could have shattered glass. You can't do this. I know people. I'll ruin you. She thrashed, her bulk making it a two-deputy job to wrestle her toward the patrol car. I watched, sipping coffee from a chipped mug, as her empire of entitlement crumbled. But the real twist was still coming. As Lopez shoved Karen into the back seat, Harris pulled me aside. Sir, we ran the property records. She doesn't even own the adjacent lot. It's leased to some LLC out of Nevada. She's been squatting herself. I nearly spit out my coffee. The irony was thicker than Karen's waistline. She'd spent weeks accusing me of being a trespasser, only to find out she was the one with no claim. I glanced at her, now red-faced and ranting through the patrol car window. Karma's a hell of a thing, I muttered. Harris nodded, scratching his mustache. What do we do with her? Book her for trespassing and obstruction, I said, and make sure she knows this land is off limits. Permanently. As the deputies drove off, Karen's voice faded into the distance, still screaming about her rights. I turned back to the cabin, the weight of the day settling on my shoulders. This wasn't just about Karen's tantrum. It was a reminder of why I did this job, because people like her, who thought they could bully their way through life, needed to be stopped. Not just for my sake, but for the sake of the secrets this cabin held. The black site wasn't just a hideout. It was a hub for operations that kept people safe, operations Karen's meddling could have jeopardized. I'd spent years training to blend in, to be a ghost, but she'd forced my hand. Now, she'd face the consequences, a night in lockup, a fine she couldn't afford, and the humiliation of being exposed as a fraud. I stepped inside, locking the door behind me. The monitors hummed, their screens glowing with data I couldn't share with anyone. Not Harris, not Lopez, and definitely not Karen. The world outside could keep spinning, full of petty dramas and power trips. But in here, I had a job to do, and I'd do it, no matter how many Karens tried to stand in my way. The forest fell silent, save for the distant wail of sirens carrying Karen to her reckoning. Justice wasn't always loud, but tonight, it felt damn good. The end.